Duran is here with us in the studio. And William, you're starting off looking at how the international sanctions on Russia over its actions in Ukraine are really starting to bite.
That's right. We're seeing the Ukrainian crisis continue to make an economic impact. Today, the finance ministry said Russia could likely enter recession in the second quarter. Growth for the first quarter of this year contracted 0.5%, and the ministry doesn't expect that to improve anytime soon. Analysts say the country is over-dependent on energy exports like gas to Ukraine and other Eastern European states, and failure to modernize the economy. And the finance ministry also revised down its estimate of net capital that would leave Russia in 2014 from $100 billion to a maximum $80 billion. This is presumably money leaving Russia because of all the sanctions, and officials say it's the country's toughest economic conditions since 2009, when the country went into deep slowdown. Now, after the Kremlin declared the Ukrainian territory, Crimea, part of Russia, it appears President Vladimir Putin has ambitious plans for the region. He presented a draft law to create a gambling zone in Crimea. There are only 4 such zones in all of Russia. So could Crimea become the Russian Las Vegas? Crimea is home to Russia's Black Sea Fleet, and the president's hoping that he can take advantage of it being a prime location for vacationing Russians. Well, let's move now to the stock markets. Ukraine weighing heavy on the mind of investors, but it's also a big earnings week and lighter than usual Monday trading, with markets in Europe and Latin America countries closed for the Easter holiday. Stocks edging higher on Wall Street. Halliburton shares were up over 3% after positive first quarter results. Netflix is due to release their results after the closing bell, but we're also hoping to hear from Apple, Ford, and McDonald's before the end of the week. Trading was also boosted by a series of economic indicators predicting U.S. growth is on its way. Time now for a look at other company news. Kraft Foods is voluntarily recalling more than 43,000 kilograms of hot dogs after it was discovered they may contain cheese. That might be positive in France, but in the U.S., it's a health hazard. The company believes its classic cheese dogs were mistakenly packaged as classic wieners, an unwelcome surprise for those with an allergy to dairy. A customer alerted Kraft to the mistake Friday, and the U.S. Food and Safety authorities labeled the situation as a Class 1 safety hazard. It's a much-anticipated announcement. Vivendi's French telecom unit, SFR, is to partner with Britain's Vodafone. The two giants are expected to unveil a network-sharing venture. Earlier this month, Vivendi accepted Numérical's bid for SFR, an offer of at least €13.5 billion in cash, plus a 20% stake in the new entity. Well, video game consoles recently announced their sales figure for the most recent version, of the high-tech gaming consoles. Sony beat its expectations, selling 7 million units of the PS4, while Microsoft had mixed figures for the Xbox One. But Nintendo is fearing the worst, slashing sales predictions after a weak holiday season. If you're like me, you had a Nintendo when you were growing up, and you remember a time when it was the only game on the block. Well, it's the 25th anniversary of the Game Boy, and Delano de Souza takes us down memory lane.
It's been 25 years since Nintendo's Game Boy changed the rules of the game. The device allowed users to change games while on the move. It also turned Super Mario and Donkey Kong into global franchises. Although Game Boy fans may be a little older now, they still remember it fondly.
They were amazing, although the screen is very, very small, and they are very, very different from the kind of games that we have nowadays. But I think we like them as much as people enjoy them now.
Although Nintendo didn't invent portable gaming, the Game Boy's price and software kept the competition at bay. The company sold almost 119 million devices until it was discontinued in 2003. Analysts say it's the Game Boy that paved the way for the industry today.
Regardless if it's console games or smartphone games, because the basic concept is the same. I mean, you just play on a portable screen, and you have a gaming experience delivered to you on a small screen.
The gaming environment has shifted considerably from Nintendo's heyday. The company's Wii console has faced stiff competition from Sony's PlayStation and Microsoft's Xbox. Last week, Nintendo said it would stick to its console business despite slumping sales and a growing threat from cheap, downloaded gaming apps.
I think the big problem they have is that they try to hold on to this model of being a single point, a single console that people develop for. They're only going to be able to reach a couple of 100 million customers, consumers.
Experts say Nintendo will have to reposition itself if it wants to stay relevant 25 years after its Game Boy turned the industry on its head.
Time now for one last story. Some call Ari Duran a thief and others say he's Spain's version of Robin Hood. He swindled banks out of nearly 500,000 euros. From 2006 to 2008, he took out 68 commercial and private loans from 39 banks with no intention of paying them back. He gave the money to social activists and funded anti-capitalist projects. Since 2009, he's been on the run, much to the chagrin of many banks who are looking for their money, but also whoever may be Spain's version of the Sheriff of Nottingham. That's it for now. I'll be back in 1 hour with more news. Back to you, Laura.
Wow, his credit rating must make for interesting reading, I'm sure. William, thank you very much indeed. Let's bring you some sports now. Dan Levy is here with us. Hi there, Dan. We're going to start with the Champions League.